All right, this is what we're gonna need. To take apart this GWG-1000. Process is fairly simple to take this apart. These guys just pop off once you take out the screws, and you got to remove these little safety pins. Once you do, these bands come straight off. Next step, let's go ahead and take off the back plate. They're screwed in about 10 rotations to 12 rotations. All right. So a couple of things that you could do in order to avoid removing the whole rubber piece or the bezel in order to remove the sensor so you can take the module out. I was using the toothpick from my Swiss Army knife, which works very well, and it's plastic, so if you pop this sensor out, and you come right here. Now check this out. Let's see. This is the strip. If you grab onto it with a pair of tweezers, you pull it out. Now it's pulled out and it's safe to pull out the module. Let's see if this tool will work. No, this won't work. Oh, forgot the crown. Let's get that guy out. So this is the crown that I initially broke, and it's still there. In order to remove it, the best solution I found is to use one of these pins. I filed down the end to make it into a blunt tip, and also to make the surface area a little bit easier to push in the release button. This might take a little while, but you gotta go ahead and press in this little hole. It's not as easy as it seems, as there is a plate with a pin going through it, so you have to push the pin in while simultaneously pulling out the crown. I found it to be easier to elevate it just a bit so you can get a little bit more grip on the crown itself. Now, there might be an issue with removing this crown because I broke it in there, and the very thin part of it is still inside the module. Oh, there it goes. There we go. So this crown is supposed to be about this much longer. This much is missing. It's a very pointy, sharp edge with a very interesting structure to it. It's thicker on this side, then you have a little bulbous part, and then it becomes thinner. And the thinner part, if you look under a loo, you will notice that it is a square shape to help tick the mechanism inside, and those are the clicks that you feel as you are rotating your crown. Unfortunately, that's not the case here anymore. So essentially, when I called the dealer to ask them, it was a West Coast dealer repair center. They wanted $246 for the module and $49 for this measly little crown. Where I'm living currently, I can purchase a brand new one for about $280. So it would be ridiculous for me to go ahead and purchase another one. So if I'm unable to get this to function, I will end up scrapping the whole watch and selling it for parts, or using it for backup for my new GWG-1000 if I end up purchasing it. My one holdback is that it's the tactical version, so it's a little difficult to see the time on it at times. Okay, anyways, let me tell you about a couple of things that happened with me here in order for you to understand what's going on. First of all, I had dropped it once while I was handling the module, and unfortunately I cracked the plastic that's supporting the 3. So what ended up happening as I was putting it back on and screwing back the case, the 3 would pop out right from the inside part. However, I used a 3D doodler to replace the plastic that was missing, and now the issue is fixed. Unfortunately, I destroyed it. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on. Step number 1, let's remove the battery to ensure that we don't circuit out anything. But before I do that, let's put this aside. Cover it real quick. Actually, let's see if we have something here. All right, I'll use a mug to just protect it. And what you need to kind of take a look at right here, and I'll try to demonstrate for you guys to see if you can remove the the button without removing the case. On one of these little pushers, there are 2 C-clips holding it in place. One of them holding the actual complete button assembly in its housing. The second one holding the pin within the pusher within the cylinder itself. So I'm gonna try to pull it out. So what I ended up doing, by the way, I got one of those little vape coil 316 wire, stainless steel. I don't know what gauge, I think it was a 13 gauge if I'm not mistaken, and I ended up using it as a C-clip, and it's been holding in really well. My one issue with this watch is that when you come to first press the pushers, if you can hear it, it clicks. It has a rough first push in, but then afterwards it pushes in normally without any issues whatsoever. I initially took the watch apart so I can fix this problem, and because one of the buttons wouldn't come back as quickly as it should. So now let's go ahead and take out the C-clips. This might be a little challenging because I don't have all my tools with me right now. However, I am going to attempt to remove one of those pushers for you so I can show you what I've done. Let's see if I can bring this closer. Or possibly zoom in. There we go. So we'll lift off this little bit right here. We'll rotate it. There we go. Okay. So as you can see, the first C-clip came out. Kind of came out. There we go. Sorry, that wasn't on camera. First pusher, the first E-clip came out. And now technically this should come out from its housing. Let's see if it does push out or not. Yep, it is confirmed. You do not have to remove the case to get the pushers out. Unfortunately, I removed the one that I did not want to take out, but you know what, I'll take advantage and show you what I've done right here. I don't have access to any E-clips at the moment. So if you'll see, I twisted the 316 line right here, and I couldn't go more than one coil over, and then I had to go ahead, cut it, and push the ends down so they don't interfere with any of the action, making sure that the original button is the only thing that is protruding from that hot mess. Let's go ahead and take out another one because I don't want to mess around with this one to show you what modification I've done to this watch. Because if you open up all the buttons and you compare, oh, this one came out easily. And if you compare the spring that is available that comes on the light button versus the springs that comes on the ABCs, it is a much different spring that's being used. That being said, it's much thicker and it seems to be of better quality. Even the color of them is a little bit different. These seem to be stainless steel, while the other one, I'm not sure, looks like it's bronze or... There we go, popped it out. Okay, so this is where all the fun jazz is. There's a little clip right there. Let's get a fatter tweezers that we have right here. This might be a little off camera, but we come right here and ever so gently hold the pin with a firm grip and pull it out. And this is the first bastard that I lost. They are so small. I believe it is a 2mm E-clip. You can find them on Amazon. I've actually looked up a set ranging from 1.2 all the way to a 5 or a 6. But once you remove that pusher, that little E-clip on the bottom, you can press down the little button right here. Sorry, it's out of focus. And it pushes this out. Let's see, did I install an aftermarket spring on this one? Nope, not this one. Okay, let me open up another one and show you on it. So this is the original spring. It is tiny. I initially first lost this one because it just sprang out of the assembly when I took it apart, and I couldn't find it for about 2 days. So I greased up this area, greased up the inside rubber seals, and then I put everything back together, push it back in. When you push it back in, gotta grab that little E-clip, tiniest E-clip on earth. It is just so difficult to handle. You can easily get lost in the tweezers themselves. Trying to push it to the edge a little. So this pusher is back in. Let's get this bad boy in and pull out another one. So this was up here. Actually, we'll put it on the bottom. These are the altimeters, doesn't really matter right here. So let's take out this side. Let's put this one back in. Put it back in. It's just the reversal of the same process. Just need to push it down, and it's in there. I found the hardest thing to do is to maintain the cleanliness of the crystal, and honestly, it's been I've had to take apart the watch about 6 times over the course of a few days, only to clean the crystal, let alone manage the buttons. I'll explain to you what I mean by manage the buttons, because that's a different situation that you're going to have to be aware of as you're taking it apart. And I know when you're taking it apart, as a person that's never done this before, it can be quite daunting. But in the past 3-4 days, I've taken it apart well over 20 times. Which could have resulted in me breaking my crown. That could have been the reason. Okay, popped it out. So this time I'm using a bigger screw and a bigger screwdriver and tweezers, which is working a lot better than using 2 precision screwdrivers to try and remove it. I think it's just a little bit more leverage. Okay, this button's out. Let's push it out of its place so I can show you what I've done. Come back here again to that little C-clip. C-clip is out. Whew, they're so easy to lose. So I'm looking at it, I couldn't find it here. I twist my finger and look what I found. The C-clip. Very, very easy to lose. And when they land on you, you don't even feel it. Anyways, C-clip is out. Let's push this sucker and to pull out the assembly. And what you'll notice here, you'll notice a much bigger spring. So what I've done is that I kept the original spring in there just not to lose it, because it really doesn't add or take away from anything. But what I did is that I went ahead and I used the spring. Yes, even though it is much larger, it does work significantly better. And it actually fits in the housing itself, because as you can see right here, there is enough room for it to sit in there. They've kind of, not really sure why they didn't use a larger spring to start off with, like they've done with the light button. But these small springs seem to tend to wear out after a while, or to lose their springiness. So what I did, I got any pusher. I don't really have a pusher or a pushing pin or like a mechanical pin around me right now, but I just removed the little spring, and I tried 3 types of cuts. Actually, 2 types of cuts. One from just the center part to where I have all equal distances between the springs, and I also tried out the end cut. And it turns out the end cut works better when it comes to its ability to spring back. So here you have, besides the little condensed 2-3 coils at the beginning, I have an additional 3 coils coming up, and that, based on my experiments, seemed to be the maximum number of coils that I can take before this thing would shoot out when you press it, as I was testing it out. So this works just great. It springs, has a really nice feedback to it. Like it feels like $1 million. Or $700 really. Anyways. So that's what I did in order to put in the spring. Of course, grease it all up. I greased the springs as well. I ended up using plumber's grease because I could not find silicone grease where I live. Currently in the Middle East. I live in Kuwait. We do have an Ace hardware, but it does not have silicone grease. So I use plumber's grease instead. I did some research online, and it seems to be that plumber's grease also works just fine. When I first read about people taking this apart online, they talked about using a 2x2 white sheet around you in order for you to see if you've dropped anything, and I cannot emphasize how important that is because it does make a difference. So anyways, let's put this sucker back in. And since I now have this GWG, and if I end up purchasing the other tactical version, I have a little bug in me telling me, go ahead and swap out the white indices so you can at least increase the lume that I have on the watch. Okay. Now, once you're done with this process, what you'll do is very simply bring this back on, lift up the little sensor tape, and then once you pop it back inside, now this is one part that is extremely important, and it took me several tries to figure out, and for the life of me I couldn't really figure out what's happening until I realized this. So I would put it back in, I would assemble it, and then I would come to depress the button and it would push in but not come back out. What you really need to do right here, there's a little bit of a spring that you have to push in the spring and push down the module. You notice how it went down just a little bit? Again, oh, pop right back out. Push in the spring, push it back down, push the spring, push it back down, and do it to all four corners, even though you might think it doesn't need it. And at this point, the pushers would work just fine. If you don't do this step, you will regret it. You will take it apart again. And what you will do at that point, I did appreciate using that plastic toothpick that I had as to not damage the connection strip. So I'm not gonna go ahead and put that back in, but all you do is that you kind of push it backwards and you push it back inside its little opening. Oh, it actually did go back inside, interestingly enough. And then you come from the little shoulders of this strip itself. There's like a little area where you can just push the edges in to make sure it's in place, and then finally you push back the little white clip until it clicks. Sometimes it doesn't click, but yeah. And now your watch is ready to be reassembled again. However, that's not my task for today. I would like to go ahead and to take apart the module to see if I can remove the stem from the inside. Everyone that I had spoken to online or read their forums online said that you are unable to remove the module and basically forget about it, it's trash. Of course, the people at the dealership said the same exact thing, but we know that they are motivated to say that. Let's take out the battery completely. Do not, when you're removing the battery, do not hold the battery like that. It's okay to push it in from one side, but you do not want to complete the circuit because otherwise you're risking damaging your battery. Hence why I use the plastic toothpick. A wooden one would work, but I'm worried about it breaking and leaving any type of residue in its wake. Anyways, let's move this out of the way. Flip it upside down so the least amount of dust can go in. And let's start taking apart this module. I have to say, overall, I do believe that I purchased one, but I don't really have it yet. I'm waiting to travel this summer. The GWG-1000 seems to have a hard time closing when there's no battery in it. The GWG-1000, the Rangeman, unfortunately, sorry. And I think it's better because of the whole situation with the crown, not having a crown. If you're dead set on an analog and you want an analog, then that's a different case. But if you do not have a preference between an analog or a digital, I would strongly recommend you go with the digital because you do not have this flimsy crown to deal with. All right. Finally. There we go. Let's see, is there anything connected on the inside? Nope. Oh, son of a gun. Make sure you don't lose. Oh. I just dropped 3 springs. Okay, I found them. Silver spring. Gold spring, gold spring. This is the case back of the module. Literally just holding the battery in place. Nothing more, nothing less. Let me come back here and take a look at this guy. Now, does it have any screws on it? Yes, it does. Let me just check it out with my loom real quick. Doop. Okay, so yes, those are screws. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws we have back here. Let's try to take them out and see where that takes us. Let me see, is this a good fit where I won't press down on the hands? Yep, that's a great fit. I got this little case back when I had an iPhone. Ooh, let's not lose those springs. I'm sorry, an Apple Watch, and it came with one of these to install the screen protector on there. This is the smallest size screwdriver that I have at the moment. Again, I placed an order online, but I haven't really received them yet, and my patience is not on my side. Excuse my hands. And it's unscrewing. Sorry, you can't see anything right now. Let me see if I can adjust the camera. Ooh, these are tiny. Tiny, tiny screws. So I'll also hide them right underneath this because I do not want to lose them. Sorry. That's screw number 1. Screw number 2. I hope nothing springs out when I open this. It would be nice to have like a magnifying glass, like a giant one, to just kind of put in front of me while I'm working on it. You know, the ones that they used to sell with the Game Boys and Game Gears to make the screen look larger. Yep, one of those would be beautiful, beautiful at the moment. Oh, there's something up here that is connected. Dear God. Okay, I am gonna get to it. And I will take it apart. Let's put that aside the way it was found. And these are the points that had the screws connected to it. It seems like each one had a function, like a little relay of some sort, to tell it if the screw is not there to not work, or it had another purpose to complete the circuit. Oh, so that's how they connect this board to this board right here, is by using the screws as a connector. I know I just noticed one little thing right here that you gotta be very careful not to lose as well. There are two miniature springs right there. Two miniature springs right there. These connect the module to your screen. So let's go ahead and remove them so I don't lose them. I am planning on salvaging this watch and hopefully getting it to work despite what the dealer is saying. So the question is, how far does that spring go? I'm gonna use my loop real quick to see what's in there before I continue taking it apart. Dirty. My instinct is saying to take these two off and see what happens or what's underneath it. I can't imagine the mechanism reaching all the way to the center. I just cannot. There are 4 other springs that are located right here. Do not lose those as well. Let's see, are they the same length as the others? Yes, they are. So it uses the same type spring all over the internals. For the sake of not losing them, I'm gonna take them out. If that even makes sense. It's better if you take off something intentionally than for it to fall out and not know where it came from, right? Back to unscrewing things. You're welcome. Shit. So, Look at what I just found. Dang. Oh. There goes the watch. That was so tiny. Okay, I just lost the spring. I heard it land somewhere around here. But where? Oh, found it. I blew a little bit of air in order to locate it, and it just moved right out. It is smaller than smaller than the needle nose pliers tip, which is hard to believe. I need to put this somewhere really secure. Because these, I can see that, no idea. But the question is, where did it come from? Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to put this watch back together, guys. Because I don't know where that spring belongs, unless I put it back in this little stupid hole that I found it in. Back at it. Luckily, I have this recorded, so I'll be able to tell where that spring came from, hopefully. See, these are not the same length, so we're gonna have to separate them. Okay. Let's see. It's behind door number 1. I don't know, let's take a look. I do not know what I'm looking at. The question is, how far deep does this go? It shouldn't go that deep. Everything I need should be in this region. So that being said, let's push this guy inside. And let's go ahead and try to remove something. Son of a gun. Ooh. That's dangerous, guys. That's dangerous. Luckily, nothing flew off. So a couple of things I'm realizing. This is the button that you press on to release the crown out of its place. So let's see. I wonder if I can open this module up from this side. So this side might be a little bit challenging because I had basically glued it shut because I was having issues with it during installation. However, this side right here, it does pop out. However, you have the hour hand and that little adjuster, the mode selector, sorry. Let's see. Let's see what can be done. Are there springs? Jeez. Okay, these springs aren't coming out. Sorry, two springs right here are not coming out. So there's a broken clip right here, and a broken clip right here. No, these are not broken clips. What I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this screw to try and remove this assembly. I'm not going to mess around with removing the face plate because I do not have the tools to remove the hands nor put them back in place. Again, I do not have hopes of this thing working ever again. So worst case scenario, we just say bye-bye. I'm gonna have to wear my loop to take a closer look at this. I cannot see anything. Okay. Sorry about that. So it seems to be completely loose. She's not wanting to come up. It's responding to my magnet. It just seems to be fixed in place. Well, let's see what's up. I'm gonna take a closer look once again. Let me see if I can show you guys what's what. So this screw, oh, it came apart. I just had to shimmy it around a bit. Same size? Maybe, but I'm not risking it. I'll put it right there. Okay. Let's try to remove this. So this has like a little spring assembly of some sort. So I'm going to try to come right here. Let me look at it through the loop. Can't see a whole lot. Nothing else is holding it in place. So it should freely come out. Let's use the little, sorry guys, let's use a little pin to try and wedge it out. I'm trying to maintain my hand in the scope of the camera, but unfortunately, this So it does move, but it's not coming out. One moment, please.